Hey, welcome everybody. Craig Peterson here. We are live again, live all over the place. In fact, right now we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and of course, I'm posting these up on my website as well. So make sure you check them out there and make sure you join in. These are kind of under the radar sort of things right now. And the whole idea behind the under the radar is bottom line, I I'm trying to get this right? I'm trying not to mess it up too badly, make sure my hardware is working, make sure my software is working, and get good questions from you. And speaking of good questions, we got some great ones for tomorrow afternoon. So if you haven't signed up already, make sure you check it out. Just go to craigpeterson.com. Right there on the home page, you can sign up because we're going to be talking all about VPNs. This is a master class. Now, to me, my master class is what it means, and what it's going to mean to you is you can get on, you can ask questions live, and we'll keep going. This is going to be at least an hour long. It sometimes goes three and a half hours because I try and answer all of your questions. But you're only going to find out how to get on if you sign up. And the way to sign up is just go to craigpeterson.com and sign up there on the homepage. Now, if you're watching this after that masterclass is closed, well, I got some news for you as well. And that is, first of all, we are not putting replays up. But secondly, you can just go to craigpeterson.com/masterclass and you can sign up to get notified of future masterclasses because I do these things. They're absolutely free. We have a lot of people participate in them. And I'll make sure that URL is set up. Right now, if you did it like this second/masterclass, it ain't going to work. But if you do sign up on the homepage, I'm going to make sure everybody that's on there gets into the masterclass list, and then they'll find out about future masterclasses. Now, this week, we're talking all about mobile security. And typically, that means your smartphone for many people. It also might mean your laptop, because laptops are coming now with data connectivity in them. And obviously, laptops can and do use Wi-Fi as well. And some of the laptops, like the Google Chromes, many of them come with data built right in. And then, of course, your tablets, like your iPads and maybe your Android tablet. But you know how I feel about Android when it comes to the security side of things. You probably don't want to use the Android stuff. Anyhow, be that as it may, we're going to skip tomorrow and then start again on Friday. So today, we're talking about data leaks when it comes to mobile security. What kind of data can be leaked? What might we need to really pay attention to? And data leaks are extremely dangerous when we're talking about this very thing, the mobile security. So what are the different types of data leaks? What do you need to watch for? That's what we're talking about right now. And this is for business as well as personal. Okay, if you're a business person, pretty much everything we talk about coming up here applies to you. If you are a home user, retiree, then some of it applies to you. So pay attention to home users because I'll mention you from time to time, and I'll mention business things to CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, if you have that sort of a thing, which larger businesses do. By the way, I saw some amazing statistics, and I may try and share some of those with you over the next few weeks about how much businesses are investing in cybersecurity. You know the numbers are up overall, but you're going to be surprised about who is in kind of the worst shape. And frankly, it's the medium businesses. But anyways, that's for another day. So I got my notes here. We're going to talk right now about the mobile security data leaks and what we're worried about right now. Now, to start with, the biggest problems that we're having have to do with configuration and people not paying attention. Now, let's back up a little bit further. And let's talk about the apps themselves, because most people now are using apps. Many businesses, instead of providing apps, are starting to write web browser-based apps so that they can run in pretty much any browser. That's a good thing. But they're neglecting the apps that are in the app stores. We talked about Google and how there have been hundreds of thousands of downloads of malicious software from the Google Play Store before. Well, it turns out by the latest statistics I just saw this week that about 60% of the apps have major security problems. The developers, it turns out, are patching the latest problems, patching for the latest problems, but they're not patching for the older problems that have been around a long time. And what that is allowing is some of this ransomware to spread, some of the spyware to spread that was patched 2 or 3 years ago. We're still seeing Bluekeep and many of these other pieces of nastiness spreading on desktops as well. So if your company has an app, make sure you revisit some of the older security problems and make sure that that you're not getting nailed by them. But part of the beauty of the app development in the browser space is it makes it much easier for you as a business to be able to do your development and make sure your development work is keeping up with the times, if you will. Now, businesses are starting to adopt software as a service as part of their whole digital transformation. Now, another name for software as a service is the cloud, and another name for the cloud is somebody else's computer. It doesn't mean if you're using the cloud that somehow everything is miraculously safe, because crappy code, pardon my French, exists on your desktop, it exists on your mobile devices, and exists in the cloud. And you, as a user of software as a service, as a business, you are not granted some form of absolution for the problems that come up with your data being stolen just because it was in a cloud provider's hands. And there's a number of problems that are coming up now for regulated industries. You know, regulated industries are some of my best clients. Well, let me put it the other way. Some of my best clients are in regulated industries because there's a lot that needs to happen. They don't understand how to do it. It's very complicated. I get it, right? I've been doing this stuff for a couple of decades plus now, and it is complicated, and it's hard to keep up on, and it's constantly changing. So I understand that, and that's why they come to me. And if you find this complicated and you want some more help, obviously come to me. Just email me at craigpeterson.com, and I'll be glad to get that information to you. But here's the other thing I want everybody to know, and that is the application developers are developing apps that capture users' attention. They're developing apps that allow them to have the users now have a great experience. Things are just wonderful for the user, the end user. And there's a lot of competition. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But because of all of the competition, they have to get to market fast. They have to make sure that their users just absolutely love this stuff. And you and I could get stuck holding the bag, which obviously we don't want to do. So be careful with these online web applications or software as a service. And just to name some examples, you might think of Dropbox, you might think of the sales, what's that big sales site called online? Well, anyways, any of those, there's a whole bunch of them that are out there. Now, the developers are using what are called APIs, and Salesforce, thank you, Karen. Yeah, Salesforce.com as an example, right? I'm not saying that they're losing people's data or they're being hacked, although they might be. But you can't just count on Salesforce keeping all of your data safe, okay? Now, these developers are using what are called APIs, application programming interfaces. And really what they're doing is it's kind of like designing a car, where I don't know if you ever watch any of these car shows on TV where they're building a car or they're redoing a car, and they'll order a motor in a box. And so this engine shows up in a box, and they'll order a transmission. It shows up in a box. They'll build a frame, let's say, and they'll just mount the engine. They'll mount the transmission and the drive shafts, all of the drivetrain stuff, and then they'll just stick, bam, on top of it, a little kit that makes it look like it's, a Shelby or something like that. And they'll have the seats inside. So what they've done is they've decided, well, I can get this motor, I can get this transmission if I link them together and I use this ratio in the differential in the back, and then I can have this really cool, real hot car, right? But those guys that are building it don't usually know much about the engine itself. What's inside that? What kind of alloy did they use for the piston rings? How did they build this engine? And because of that, sometimes they make big mistakes and they end up using the wrong engine. Well, much the same is true today when it comes to these software as a service app developers. Have you noticed how you can tie and link accounts together? Evernote, for instance, I use it all of the time. I've had their CEO on my radio show before, but Evernote lets you tie into your web browsers, it lets you tie into your desktop, and lets you clip and save and do all of those things using APIs. And that's what's happening here. So instead of me having to design a motor and a transmission and the rest of the drivetrain components, I can just order them in a box. And the same thing with the API developers. They can say, hey, I want to make a really great thing, and it's designed specifically for dentists' offices that do cosmetic surgery. And they go ahead now when they pull in the API from this site, from Dropbox, let's say, pull in an API from a scanner, a software company, pull in an API that ties in the X-ray machines, and they'll pull it all together, put together a beautiful user interface, but they don't understand all the security implications of what's behind all of this. So this is a bit of a word to the wise for business people and for home users. Be very, very careful when you are selecting these cloud services. And there are some services out there that sit in front of cloud services that provide protection. And if you want to know more about those, just email me at craigpeterson.com. It gets kind of confusing. I don't want to confuse you guys too badly today because I'm sure I've already lost some people just because this stuff is really rather complicated. But that's what's happening today. That's what's happening out there with all of these software as a services companies, the cloud, if you will, out there. And we're trying to make our employees more productive. And I think that's a great thing. But we've got to be very cautious, and we have to have wrappers around the cloud services. You don't want someone uploading to Dropbox your intellectual property. You don't want someone uploading to Dropbox, just a regular Dropbox account, personal information about your clients or your employees. Think about that for just a second. When it comes to employees, man, you've got all kinds of information, don't you? Social Security numbers, payments, account numbers, if you're doing direct deposit, all of that is regulated, highly regulated stuff. So you don't want that going up to just a regular Dropbox account that somebody has. Yeah, I got a free Dropbox, or yeah, I got a 10 gig Dropbox account. There are special services you have to use. Again, just email me if you have any questions about that. Now, when it comes to corporate devices, I love this hit list. This is for you to consider both business and home. The top 3 categories of the use of these devices are news and sports. I use mine for that, right? How many people use Apple News or Flipboard or some of these other news services? Shopping and business. Shopping, I should say, is number 2. And again, I use it for shopping. I'll go to Amazon. I'll check out Walmart online. I understand Costco's got a great booming business online. I haven't tried them yet. And business and industry services. Those are the 3 top ones, okay? And what's interesting about those 3 is they account for 59% of all of the leaks. That is a huge number for those 3 categories. So let's get into it a little bit more here. Media websites and apps. How many media sites you go to? You look at New York Times, for example. They've got a paywall up. If you want a New York Times article, you have to pay for it. Well, you get like 3 free a month, right? But you have to pay for it. Well, if you have to pay for the article, what does that mean? Well, you have to give your name. You have to at least give credit card information. In some cases, these sites are also requiring an address from you, information about your business. And when you're talking about this widespread competition I mentioned earlier, for eyeballs and for users of some of these different tools that are out there, we're talking about a real problem because it's a rush to get this code done. And they are not paying a lot of attention to the security concerns that we have. News and sports, the 7th highest category for data consumption, but it accounts for the highest proportion of leaks. News and sports. Who would have thought of that one, okay? Shopping apps, we mentioned already, handing over all kinds of information online. So let's talk about the 6 types of app behaviors that are considered to be the biggest potential risks. Okay, number 1, access to sensitive data. So this is apps that might have corporate data. Now, think about this for a minute. It can be something as simple as your contact list. Those are your customers. How many of us have uploaded our contacts to Facebook so that Facebook could tell us, oh, hey, yeah, your contact, here's their Facebook page, you can like him. How many have done that, right? Give me a thumbs up right now, a little heart or something. Let me know, or put something into the channel underneath this video. Have you done that? Well, some of that data is considered to be sensitive, but real sensitive data includes things like personal health information, personally identifiable information. It just kind of goes on and on from there. Data exfiltration. These are apps that send sensitive data to external services. Many of us, and I see this when I go into businesses quite frequently, where they have external services that are hooked up directly to their databases. I see this a lot in car dealers. I see this a lot in medical offices. It's a real problem. And I even see it with some of the manufacturers where they're trying to do just-in-time inventory. The data exfiltration happens because there is a VPN or some other sort of connection between them and their vendors and their clients, right? Use of cloud services, we talked about that. You got to be really careful. Data localization violations. You got to be careful of apps that send data to other parts of the world. If you make something as a subcontractor to a government contractor, you might have ITAR issues, and you can't have your data leave the United States. If you're in the European Union, you guys over there, you've got GDPR to worry about, and that you cannot allow your data to just go willy-nilly to even the United States. Okay, be very careful about that. Insecure data handling. This is apps that aren't doing data encryption properly. There's no real at-rest encryption. There's no real encryption while it's in transit. Maybe the only encryption is their HTTPS, that SSL, to get the data to their site and then back to you from their site. And then vulnerabilities, these applications with known vulnerabilities. And there are thousands of them out there. And unfortunately, many businesses are not doing what's called regression testing, which is really, it's mandatory. If you are building an app or having an app built, make sure your people are doing regression tests as well. So let's talk about some high-profile breaches here really quickly. MyFitnessPal, you probably heard about this, Under Armour. They got hacked, and the app, by the way, they were able to steal information of 150 million account holders. 150 million account holders. The next year, the information appeared up on the dark web. Air Canada's mobile app last summer, 1.4 million customers' data was stolen via the app. McDonald's mobile app was something I've actually used before. It was used to steal significant amounts of food from McDonald's itself. So we're going to get to the 5 recommended best practices in just a second, but I want to go through this list. This list is really, I think, very pertinent. The true cost of a lost mobile device, think about these. Your productivity that's been lost, your downtime, which could be business downtime, the support that's required from your IT people, internal or external, to get you back online, the management time involved. Let's move on to the loss or theft of laptops, tablets, okay? Again, productivity, intellectual property, because we're more likely to have real intellectual property. That stuff that makes our businesses unique and makes our businesses who we are. It tends to be on the laptops and on the smartphones. So make sure you're using hard disk encryption and also using some form of biometrics so that someone who maybe stole that laptop can never use it again. And kudos to Apple again in this category, because the laptops they've been making for the last year or two have a chip in them, this T2 chip, the Terminator chip, that helps to protect them and protects them really well. But also consider the data breach costs, which can include fines, can include your business losing face, and businesses that are losing face are likely to go out of business. And we got stats on that too. And your legal fees. The loss of a single laptop, including downtime, support, management time, exceeds, now this is average, one laptop exceeds $49,000. And that could spell disaster in the small, medium business space. So I have more stats. If you want the stats, let me know. I'll be glad to send them to you. Me at craigpeterson.com. In fact, I was thinking maybe I should put together a little presentation that you can use to present to the management in your business to help them understand what the problem is. Because I know a lot of us are just kind of the de facto IT person. And as the de facto IT person, we don't necessarily have a whole lot of sway. But the management has to understand this. So here we go. The 5 recommended best practices in securing mobile devices. Number 1, implement a mobile security policy. If you don't have a policy, you can't enforce it. Now, I have some policies that I provide with some of my courses. If you're interested, let me know. Invest in physical security. Now, that includes things like the hard disk encryption on your laptop and biometric access to the laptop. But also think about what we do when we're talking about medical practices, where there's a lot of people moving in and out, there's patients walking around, is we chain them to the desk. Actually, we use a steel cable, to the desk so they can't walk out, which is required by HIPAA. But when you were in your doctor's office the last time, did you see the equipment cabled to the desk? And then physical security, you don't want people walking in, seeing things, taking things. And that includes maybe even the cleaners, okay? You've got to be careful out there. Never leave devices logged into the network. Never leave your email up. Never leave your websites logged in. We have all of our clients log out twice a day, usually at lunchtime and then at the end of the day. And that helps to ensure that they really are closing some of these things. We can't guarantee that they're not going to leave a website logged into, but at least twice a day, they have to log back out and log back in again. And encrypt all data and secure your networks. And that's for a whole other series of presentations here. But basically, make sure your networks are secured. Make sure they are split up so that you don't have things like the mobile devices that your individual employees are using, or heaven forbid contractors are using, making sure they don't connect to the Wi-Fi that gives them access to your server. Because we're not only worried about them having access, we're worried about an infection that's on their devices getting through. Okay, all very complicated stuff. I get it. You got to start somewhere. If you have questions or you want a little help, let me know. Me at craigpeterson.com. I got a whole team that can help you out. And we always just answer the questions, any questions you send us. And make sure you authenticate the users and know who has access. And that includes getting rid of their accounts when they leave your employee. And that includes, of course, the people who are your network administrators and your computer administrators, because when they leave, too many times we've seen them sneak in afterwards and kind of do some nasty stuff because they're so upset with the business. So those are your main things to worry about. Tomorrow, I'm not going to be doing a Facebook Live because I'm going to be doing a deep dive into VPNs, answering your questions, going through what are the pros, the cons, when should you, when shouldn't you use a VPN, what are some of the ones you should consider using, kind of the best, right, VPNs out there. using them for home, using them for business? How about using them from home? Should you use a company VPN and then use another VPN at the same time? All of those are questions that we've already been asked, and we will be answering them tomorrow during our master class. So make sure you sign up for that master class. You're going to want to be there tomorrow at 4 p.m. We are not planning any replays for that, okay? It's going to be at least an hour long, so book that time tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S., and we may go, sometimes we've gone long as 3 or 3.5 hours, depending on how many questions we have. How do you sign up? Go to craigpeterson.com. It's right there on the homepage, craigpeterson.com. Hopefully you'll join us tomorrow when we talk about VPNs. This is follow-up, a deeper dive than what we did with our lives last week. If you want to see last week's lives, you can look through the history here in these channels, kind of go back a bit, and you'll see some of the lives we did. But tomorrow, 4 p.m., that's Thursday, 4 p.m. on October 24th, Eastern Time, we're going to have a free masterclass for you guys, okay, on VPN specifically. So I hope you take the time tomorrow to join us. We're putting a lot of work into this, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Love to see you there. Make sure you sign up. Again, craigpeterson.com. Take care, everybody.